Hello and welcome to another of my videos about the Audi A4 Avant 2016 model. This video is a companion to my main review video, and in it I'm going to take a look at the options that are available for the A4 and show you which ones I did or didn't take on my car. My reason for doing this video is because I've watched professional reviews where the reviewers were provided with high-end models with lots of options, which many of us won't have in our cars, and sometimes it's not clear which features are standard and which are optional. I will try to follow the order in which Audi presents the options on their website, covering in turn the engines, the exterior, interior, equipment and accessories. I will skip any mention of different model lines or packs, since those seem to be different depending on your country. I have cross-checked some of the information on the UK, German and Belgian Audi websites, but if you're in a different country you may have some different options, or differently tuned engines depending on factors such as your local vehicle taxation system. I'm going to focus on the options that I chose or considered. I won't go exhaustively through all of the possible options, and I'm certainly not trying to tell you what you should or shouldn't take. My goals are just to clarify what's standard and what's an option, and to give you my thoughts on the options that I took. So let's start with the engines then, which include the transmission options. Of course, Audi offers a range of engines from the 150 horsepower 1.4 litre petrol to the 272 horsepower 3 litre diesel, and manual or automatic gearboxes. Most drivers will probably go for one of the 2 litre diesel options, but since my mileage isn't very high, I picked a petrol engine. I test drove a 150 horsepower engine, but felt that it didn't quite have the performance I would expect from a premium car, so I picked the 2 litre petrol engine with the automatic gearbox. I didn't take the Quattro or 4-wheel drive option, since I have no particular need for it where I live, and it's pretty expensive. So far I'm very happy with my choice. I would certainly recommend the automatic transmission, which is very smooth and makes the car very easy to drive. I won't go into issues such as acceleration times or emissions. You can see all of those details on Audi's website and decide what suits your needs. Moving on to the exterior options, the first one is the paint. I'm not keen on anything on the monochromatic scale, white, silver, grey or black, and we picked the Argus brown metallic finish. Some countries offer wider colour options, but you can see those on your local Audi website. The second main option on the exterior is the alloy wheels. Larger wheels give better handling, but worse ride comfort and fuel efficiency, as well as being pricier. So I stuck with the standard wheels, which in Belgium are 16-inch alloys. This is an option that changes between countries. In Britain and Germany, the smallest wheels seem to be 17-inch. Next are the headlights. The standard headlights, which I have, are xenon headlights, which I think are quite adequate for driving around town and on motorways. The LED headlights that you will see on the professional reviews are quite an expensive option, or two different options actually. They offer more features such as the selective dimming to avoid glare for other road users and the progressive LED indicator lights. They look very smart and I think they are a nice option, but they were a little too pricey for me, taking into account the other options that I definitely wanted. I did take the high beam assist option, which automatically dips the full beam headlights when it detects other cars in front, and that works well for cars going in both directions. Also, there's the option for the rain and light detectors for automatic activation of the headlights and windscreen wipers, which for me is a no-brainer. Any car in this class these days should include those. There are a number of options for the windows and sunroof, including tinted rear windows, internal blinds and better sound insulation, but I didn't take any of those. Finally, there are some cosmetic options such as the colours of the window surrounds, roof bars and wing mirrors, and I went for the aluminium upgrades, which aren't too expensive but which I think look a bit classier than the standard black. Coming inside the car, the first major option concerns the seats. You have various choices of cloth and leather. I took the leather and Alcantara option, which is very comfortable. We also opted for the sports seats, which give better support, particularly at the sides, and the electric seat adjustment with memory for the driver's seat, which also requires electrically folding adjustable and heated wing mirrors. My girlfriend and I both use the car quite often, so the memory was a requirement. It's maybe a shame that Audi only offers 2 memory positions rather than 3, which you get in some other cars, but it's generally sufficient for us. This combination included the lumbar support, which helps to make the front seats very comfortable, but we didn't take the seat heating or ventilation, as we live in a relatively mild climate. The seat options can be expensive, but I think it's important to check them out to make sure that they suit you. Incidentally, the rear seats split 3 ways as standard, with release levers in the boot. The only option that's available for the rear seats is heating, which I don't have. Next comes the steering wheel, although that tends to depend on the options that you take for the MMI system. You can choose a flat-bottomed or heated steering wheel. I didn't bother with those, but I do have the multifunctional steering wheel that comes with the upgraded MMI system. I won't go in depth on the other colour and trim options. Apart from the leather and Alcantara seats, I stuck with the standard offerings, which I think look perfectly good. I dabbled with the idea of wooden dashboard inserts, but in the end I decided that they looked slightly out of place with our other choices, and for me they weren't worth the cost. There are several options for the mirrors. For the wing mirrors, as I mentioned, my choice of memory seats required at least the electrically folded, adjustable and heated wing mirrors, to which you can also add an automatic day or night position. That option is also available for the rear view mirror, but I didn't take it for either. The automatic rear view mirror is better looking since it's rimless, which looks rather smart, and that's a difference that I hadn't spotted before I got my car. You will probably have seen the optional tri-zone air conditioning system with the touch-sensitive buttons. That's not a cheap option, and we rarely have passengers in the back, where this option adds an ancillary set of controls, so I stuck to the standard air conditioning. It's not as advanced, and it only has a single temperature setting for the whole interior, but it is fully functional and meets our needs. The only slight disappointment with the basic system is that you can only adjust the temperature by whole degree increments in Celsius, rather than half degrees, which I had in my previous car. The tri-zone system changes by half degree increments. There is a further upgrade which allows you to remotely control the air conditioning or set it on a timer so that you can adjust the interior temperature before you enter the car, which may be useful in more extreme climates. There are a number of options relating to locking and unlocking the car, such as unlocking it without having to press a button on the key or the foot detector to open the boot. The only option that I took in this area was the electrically opening boot door, which I like a lot since it can be a pain having to wrestle the boot door down. I was a little concerned that it might be an issue with having the dogs in the boot, but they've quickly got used to the fact that they need to stay away from the door as it comes down, and it closes quite slowly at the end anyway. It also has sensors and will open again if it detects anything in the way. By holding the boot closing button for a few seconds, you can set the opening height, which is a useful feature especially if you have a low garage ceiling. Finally, in the interior options there are several lighting packs which provide ambient lighting in various locations in the cabin, and the most expensive of these even lets you choose the colour. For me, this is the sort of option that you might throw in if you're speccing up a company car with a fixed budget that you can fill, but as I was spending my own company's money, I left them out. Next we come to the equipment category, which contains a lot of different options, including some of the more advanced technical gadgetry. Firstly, in this section I'll talk about the infotainment systems, including what Audi calls the MMI system, the multimedia interface. For me, this was one of the strongest selling points of the new Audis, and I maxed out with the virtual cockpit and the MMI Navigation Plus, which gives a larger central screen of 8.3 inches instead of 7 inches, and a lot of related connectivity and functionality. These are quite expensive options, but they really bring the car to the forefront of in-car technology, and for me there was little point in buying a brand new model if I wasn't going to take this kind of option. Having said that, I test drove an A4 with the medium level options, which are the smaller navigation screen and a smaller colour screen between analogue dials in front of the steering wheel, and I felt that that worked very well too. The basic level with no options has a monochrome screen between the dials and still has the central screen, but it doesn't include satellite navigation, which seems strange these days, although I must say that the built-in navigation systems are still way overpriced compared to something like a TomTom, and they miss out on functions like speed camera warnings, which can be very useful if you have a powerful car. I will do a separate video on the MMI interface, so I won't go into any more detail here. On the infotainment side, you have various options for better sound systems, which I didn't take either. I don't really see the point in spending large amounts on better speakers when you're in an inherently noisy environment where you can't fully appreciate good sound. At home I have a pair of £1,000 speakers where they don't have to contend with wind, tyre and engine noise. There are other options for digital radio, TV reception and rear seat entertainment which I didn't take. Regarding the communication options, I got these in a pack with the MMI system, so I have the Audi Connect and phone box. The phone box is quite expensive on its own, but I particularly like the wireless charging function, as I can just drop my phone under the central armrest and it charges away without having to plug it in, and the car warns me if I leave the phone there when I get out.
Your mobile phone is still in the vehicle.
Now I will briefly look at the various assistance systems that you can take as options. This is again where some of the recent technology comes in, and you can spend a lot of money on these options. I took most of the parking options, front and rear sensors, which I think are basic necessities, but also the rear view camera and the park assistance, which detects parking spaces and takes over the steering for you. The rear view camera is fantastic. It gives you a great view out of the back of the car, which has quickly become my default view when reversing. It also works well at night thanks to the reversing lights, but it can be affected by rain on the camera lens, which I noticed on another of the cars that I test drove. The automatic parking is not a necessity for me. I'm a fairly good parker and I find it quicker to park the car myself, although I can see that it could be useful if you're nervous about parking. I may do another video with a demonstration of the automatic parking system. I didn't take the 360-degree cameras or the other assistance systems like the active lane assist, side assist or the advanced presense systems. I test drove a Range Rover Evoque that had the side assistance, which warns you of a car in your blind spot, and I thought it worked well, but I prefer to retain the reflex to look for myself. All A4s come with the Presense City as standard, which automatically warns and then brakes if it detects a potential collision up to 85 km an hour, which is around 53 miles per hour. I haven't yet tested that in real life, fortunately. I also didn't take the head-up display or the speed limit recognition system. I tried a head-up display in another car and wasn't particularly impressed. There are a few options around what they call technology and security, although I didn't take any of them and none of them are really visible in the car. You can take the sport chassis, which lowers the ride height by 20 mm, but which probably isn't a good idea living in a city with lots of horrible speed bumps. There's also an improved suspension system, which some of the reviews I've seen were quite positive about, but I don't find the standard suspension uncomfortable. There is also an option for dynamic steering, which adjusts the steering range according to your speed, but all of the professional reviewers disliked this, so I didn't consider that at all. Lastly, in this section, you can specify additional lateral airbags in the back, but as we rarely have rear seat passengers, this didn't seem necessary. I hope I'll never be proved wrong on that count. The last set of equipment options are a few miscellaneous ones, mainly concerned with the storage spaces. These include a smoker's pack, the tow bar, a storage pack, and some boot options. The storage pack gives you an extra compartment in the front and some storage nets, as well as the cup holders in the rear armrest, which I was surprised to find missing on my car. It also allows you to lock the glove compartment, which seems a strange omission from the standard equipment. In the boot, you can get a reversible luggage compartment mat and also the rail system for boot space management. The only one of these options that I took was a rail system, and I will show that in more detail in a separate video. The final set of options that you will see in the Audi car configurator is the accessories. These are all additional items that you can buy to go in or on your car, such as snow chains, roof boxes, and child seats. I didn't buy any of these, and I'm not going to go through them here. You can see them all on the Audi website. You can also buy them separately afterwards, although they tend to be more expensive than unbranded equivalents that you can buy from other retailers. This was a long video, but I hope it will be useful for anyone who is choosing the options for their Audi A4. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Bye!